This is the Denago Hunting, and it is a huge class 3 fat tire mid-drive e-bike. If you're looking for an e-bike that does it all, this is a very good candidate. So let's jump into the components, the features. We're gonna test it on-road, we're gonna test it off-road, and I'm gonna tell you everything you need to know about this bike. Let's go. So as the name implies, this e-bike is marketed towards the fisherman, the hunter, the camper, the RVer, and it all starts with these big, fat, knobby, all-terrain tires. They sit on 26-inch rims and they are 4.5 inches wide. You get knobs all the way to the edges of the tire here, so you're gonna have no problems with just about any terrain you're gonna run into while riding. The centerpiece to this bike is this 750 watt mid-drive Bafang motor, and it is a torque sensor, so it reads how hard you're pedaling and gives you power according to that, rather than a usual hub drive motor that just gives you a flat amount of power based on which riding mode you're in. I'm going to talk about how it feels to ride this bike in a second when we jump on it, but I can tell you that it is excellent, and this is a really great motor, and it pairs perfectly with this style of bike. This is a 48 volt bike with a 20 amp hour battery, and this slots into the frame of the bike. I think it looks really good. And with that 20 amp hour battery, you're supposed to be able to get 77 miles of range on average. I haven't done a true range test yet, but as I mentioned, I haven't had any issues with distance so far. You can charge the battery in the bike here, or with the key, you can remove it with this and you can slide it out and you can charge it in the house while you keep the bike either locked up or in the garage or wherever you want it. It comes with a 7-speed Shimano Altus derailleur and cassette, and it comes with a grip twist shifter, which normally I'm not the hugest fan of, but it actually works here because you're not shifting as much as you would think. This Mozo suspension fork, nice and comfortable. I've had no problems with it so far. It is quite plush, so I don't think it's as suited to really aggressive off-road riding, but it gets the job done with everything I've used this for. You get a pretty standard set of locking grips, but it is nice to see locking grips rather than slide-on grips here because you're not gonna get them moving around at all. You get an extremely basic plasticky throttle, but as I'll talk about when I jump on the bike in a second, you actually don't use the throttle as much with a mid-drive bike as you do with a hub-driven bike, and so I don't mind it being a little bit lower quality. You get your basic controls, and you get a really nice color center display, and you get 5 riding modes. Again, when I jump on it, I'll talk about the riding modes, but I found that I like riding mode 5 the most, pretty much no matter what speed I'm going, because the torque sensor is just that good in this bike that you really don't need to fiddle with the riding modes that much. It has a sport mode, as you can see here, and then it also has an eco mode, which is a little less aggressive acceleration to help you conserve battery, though I've had no problems with battery so far, and I've been able to go pretty much as far as I want to ride without the battery running out. As mentioned, this is a grip shifter, which typically you don't see that often. You typically have the thumb and finger shifting on most bikes, but again, like I said, I don't mind this a lot because you're not shifting a lot and it's pretty intuitive and the shifts are really quick, and so far it hasn't had any issues. It also comes with nut hydraulic disc brakes, and I'm a big fan of the nut brakes. I think they do an excellent job. They've got a good progressive feel where you can make small little speed adjustments, but you can also lock them up when you need to. It has a nice beefy rear rack. You can hold lots of stuff. This actually would be a great just commuter bike. You could do a grocery run. You could throw a rack on the back here or like a container to hold your groceries, and it holds a lot of weight because it is welded directly to the frame. So downside is that you can't take it off if you don't want this rack, but I think it's going to be useful. And if you're in the market for a bike like this, I think you want the rack. All right, I'm gonna go for a nice long ride. I'm seriously impressed with the ride feel of this thing so far. It's super comfortable, super planted. It doesn't make a lot of noise, nothing's rattling around. The only noise that's coming from this bike is road noise because of the fat tires. A bike this big and heavy may feel a little inconvenient, but when you're actually riding it, you appreciate the weight of it. You appreciate how nice it feels to ride. You're not gonna have to worry about any sort of bumps. You don't have to worry about, like, it doesn't feel like anything's falling apart or is loose or is wobbly or is flexing weird. Everything so far is working exactly as intended. It's tracking my speed accurately. The pedaling feels really nice. It assists your pedal strokes without overpowering them like a hub motor does. The only downside to not having a hub motor, to having the mid-drive bike, is that the throttle performance isn't quite on the level of the hub motor, but I don't mind it with, you know, pedaling that feels this good. It's also impressively fast, but not in an intimidating way. Like, it only goes up to these top speeds if you really want it. If you tell it that you want to go this fast, it'll go that fast. Otherwise, even on the highest pedal assist mode, you can reel it back really nicely. You can go for a nice casual cruise. If you want a little bit more of a workout, then you can dial down the pedal assist settings. But even, you know, just leaving it in the highest mode, it's really comfortable. That's the biggest advantage of these mid-drive motors. The suspension also feels well tuned for what this is designed to do. This isn't, I wouldn't say this is an off-roading, mountain biking type suspension, but it gives you a nice plush feel. It helps you eat up bumps on a commute like this, and I feel like it's gonna do really well once I get it off road on like dirt trails. I don't think this is designed or intended to be super high level off-roading, but it definitely is gonna eat up, you know, dirt trails really, really well. The nice part is you can still use the throttle my favorite way to use it, which is to take off and get the bike moving without having to pedal. However, this bike does an excellent job of activating the pedal assist as soon as your feet start moving. I find to favor the throttle on e-bikes most of the time, particularly the hub-driven bikes. But with this one, I want to pedal. The throttle is more of a luxury, an accessory, rather than a necessity on a bike like this. A mid-drive motor like this with the torque sensor also makes it so that you don't have to shift gears as much. You don't have to rely as much on the drivetrain to, you know, get up hills or adjust if you're going downhill. Like, the torque sensor just reads how hard you're pedaling and gives you however much power you need. Okay, I'm out for the off-road section now, and this trail that I'm on, I think is pretty progressive. I think it starts pretty mellow with just like gravel trails, and then it gets a little bit more technical. We'll take it up as far as I can and see kind of how it does and what the trail looks like. Okay, I'm starting out in gear 3 with pedal assist mode. Let's do pedal assist mode 3 here. And initially, we've got kind of the loose gravel, and these big tires do a really great job of finding traction even when there's not a ton of it. So now we're getting into a little bit more moderate trail. It's really comfortable so far. No issues at all. This style of trail really feels like what you're gonna run into most of the time when you are going fishing or camping or hunting. Nice. I think I'm gonna downshift one more time here. So now we are riding in gear 2, riding mode 3, trying to maintain a nice 10 miles an hour. I've done this climb on a regular mountain bike before, and man, it is grueling going up. It doesn't look very steep, but it gets to you fast. And I'm even winded, and I've got an e-bike here. Now this is like nice and loose and washed out. Really capable. I think this is where it excels, because this is very loose. But you get a ton of surface area with these tires, and you got plenty of power to get through it. I think I'm gonna bump up the pedal assist a notch here. Oh yeah, it's gonna eat that up. This is doing a great job. Okay, we got a good hill coming up here. This will be a good test. I'm gonna bump up the pedal assist all the way up. Sport mode, pedal assist 5. It's pretty loose. I'm gonna go up this steep section and see what this can do. Oh, yeah. Nice. I think you did a really decent job. Oh, that torque sensor. So the downside of a torque sensor is that if you stop pedaling for a second and you don't use that throttle, it goes, oh, there's no torque, he doesn't want any power, and then it'll cut the motor out, which is kind of what happened there for a second. I actually do recognize the single track trail, and I think this one is pretty relative to that last one. It's a little bit more approachable for a bike like this. So let's go and take this one up. I'm gonna stay in riding mode 5, gear 3. I do really like using the throttle for sections like that where you're trying to get speed through there. But the thing with these e-bikes, especially these fat tire e-bikes, is that they have so much rolling resistance that they tend to slow down quickly when you just coast with them. You kind of need like a steady stream of power to keep them at the proper speeds. Okay, now the fun part. Take this trail back downhill. See what this is capable of on the downhill side of things. Handled the climb really, really well, honestly. Very, very impressed. The question is, how comfortable is this gonna be on the downhill? I think I'm gonna primarily be using throttle for the sections where I need it. Which is kind of the fun part of a mountain bike, is that, or of electric mountain bike, is you can just use the throttle on the downhill and then you can just keep your feet planted in a solid position. Nice. It's a little bouncy, it's a little jangly, but about what I expected given the terrain. It's cooking. I mean, it's not slow, that's for sure. Oh, I think I might have jangled the motor there, but I actually feel my confidence growing as I ride this thing. I think it was a little iffy at first, but it's really proving how capable it is. Wow, so overall, I'm really impressed. I thought the weight would really hold this back, and kind of the jangliness of the drivetrain, and just kind of the overall, more, it's not a cruiser shape, but it's definitely not like an aggressive mountain bike shaped bike. It honestly did really, really well. This obviously isn't the most intense mountain bike trail, but it sure isn't just a dirt road. So let's talk about who this bike is for. As I mentioned, I think it is directed at hunters and fishers and campers and RVers, and honestly, for those purposes, I think it makes a lot of sense. It's fairly quiet, you're not gonna spook any wildlife, you're not gonna spook any fish, you're not gonna have any issues with that. And if you're not traveling long distances, it could be a reasonable alternative to something like an ATV. So whether you're an outdoor enthusiast or just a commuter looking for an all-around solid e-bike, the Denago Hunting seems like a great option. I'm really enjoying my time with this bike, and I'm more impressed with it the more I ride it. You can check it out, the link below, and if you liked this video, then leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all things electric. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay frosty.